So friends, I want to welcome you to our, wait for it, our 69th online gathering for congregational leaders across the country. This twice-a-month gathering is called Courageous Leadership, and it's sponsored by ELCA's coaching ministry. I'm Jill Beverland. I'm the coordinator of coaching for the ELCA, and I'm one of your facilitators today. As a reminder, we are creating and holding a safe and brave space in these gatherings for you, the people of our church, to bring the truth of who you are and how you are doing. These conversations are an intentional step to live more fully into God's dream for us as the body of Christ. We appreciate that you're here today and look forward to supporting your small group discussions. We invite you to bring curiosity and openness to these conversations. How might Spirit be calling you forward as a leader in your life, your family, your work, your ministry, your community, the world? What is God saying to you today and in this season of your life related to the topic you have chosen to engage? As we begin today, I want to share a reading from Psalm 139. O Lord, you have examined my heart and know everything about me. You know when I sit down or stand up. You know my thoughts even when I'm far away. You see me when I travel, when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I'm going to say even before I say it, Lord. You go before me and follow me. You place your hand of blessing upon my head. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to understand. I can never escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the grave, you are there. If I ride the wings of the morning, if I dwell by the farthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me and your strength will support me. I could ask the darkness to hide me and the light around me to become night, but even in darkness, I cannot hide from you. To you, the darkness shines as bright as day. Darkness and light are the same to you. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body, and you knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand, and when I wake up, you are still with me. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you, and lead me along the path of everlasting life. So connected to this, I want to read to you an encouragement from the Reverend Dr. Phil Hirsch. Phil is the Executive Director of the Christian Community and Leadership Team of the ELCA. And today, Phil writes, avoid the thing. In his op-ed piece last week, Jamel Bowie wrote about the movie, The Thing. For as much as critics dismiss the film as expensive trash, there is an idea here that fear and paranoia can dissolve the bonds of friendship, camaraderie, and citizenship, that they sap us of our ability to work together and paralyze us in the face of crisis. It is an idea in which our age of misinformation, public distrust, and pandemic disease lands with heavy force. Phil says, I know I've seen this in our church and society, and I hope to avoid it altogether. So with this, take some encouragement from me. Don't schedule back-to-back meetings all day. Take breaks and walk outside. Try not to schedule meetings over lunch or chapel time. Take some time during the week to reflect on yourself and your work. How's it going? And so with that, I invite our colleague Jason to lead us in some yoga practice that will help us as we continue to center ourselves for our discussions today. Jason, and maybe you can give us some context where this comes from for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't worry, you don't need yoga clothes on. You're not going to get sweaty. I just came back from a spiritual retreat, and they incorporated yoga into that, which I found very interesting as far as starting our day. A lot of it, most of it, just about breathing and presence, very little like workout or anything like that. And they incorporated some of the phrases we were learning, sort of just good practice for life. So I shared this with Jill earlier, and she was like, ooh, we should share that with the group. So here we are. So I'm going to teach you a few like hand motions, just incorporate with deep breathing and some key phrases to remember as we are in this bizarre time that seems like it will ever be going. So I'm going to try to get my camera and step back slightly and see if we can do it. So the first one, you do your hands in front of you and you say, I can walk away from an issue. Breathing, I can walk away from an issue. The next one is your hands behind your back, if you can reach it sort of like that. And if you can sort of give yourself a little bit of a stretch. And it's not my monkey, not my circus. That was not my monkey, not my circus. Then the right hand up. I don't need to be right. And I can reach for support with your left. And then I can let things go. So I'm going to do those all in one sort of movement. Just remember to breathe during it. Say it aloud if you would like. Sometimes it's helpful to name things. We know this in coaching. So I can walk away from an issue. Not my monkey, not my circus. I don't need to be right. I can reach for support. I can let things go. And one noticing, I'm a big language person, and the yoga teacher chose the language reach for support, not ask for help. Just a noticing, sometimes we have trouble speaking it, right? But is there someone you can physically reach out to possibly? Like maybe it's a slight touch on an arm or on the shoulder. I mean, of course, consent, right? I'm going to make sure that's said. But there's someone you trust in your life and they trust you. Sometimes it's a physical reaching out if you have trouble speaking it. I'm one of those who does not like asking for help, but I can reach for support, which is a very different thing too. They're not fixing me, right? So just a noticing there.
Thank you, Jason, for that important leading and some moves and some mantras that I think we can take throughout our day. And so, friends, I want to commend you. Our time today is following Jason's yoga assist, Phil's encouragement, and Psalm 139. You are taking intentional time to reflect on how things are going. In these groups, you are naming your truth and discerning your next most faithful steps. I pray in this time that you are reminded that you are fearfully and wonderfully made by a God who calls you beloved, who wants you to discover the gifts generously poured down upon you, and who invites you to use these blessings to love and serve the world in the name of Jesus. Amen. So friends, welcome to November. How is it that we're here the first Wednesday of November? And if you will recall, on the first Wednesday of each month, we focus on our discussions around specific topic areas. And Jason's going to share what each of our topics are, and we'll explain how we get there. And at this point, when we deploy to our breakout rooms, we'll be there until about 10 minutes until the hour, and then we'll come back and share our learnings and our insights. A reminder that an ELCA coach should be meeting you in your room and to help facilitate the conversation. If that's not happening, please raise your hand with the button and ask for help. So Jason.
Let me unmute, then share my screen. So we wrote it down this time.
And Sylvia, we will put the mantra in the chat.
Yes, I can do that. So can everyone see that, or is my window in the way? Is that better? Okay. So the breakout rooms, and you can choose your own. Let me go ahead and open those. I've assigned only a couple coaches so far, so if you need me to do that, I can do that. Growing young, grief in our communities, personal grief, rural ministry, urban ministry, hybrid church, advocacy, race relations, and allyship. Those rooms are now open. I'm going to stop my share. And let me know if you need help going to a room or choosing that. If you don't see the breakout rooms automatically, you can go to your Zoom menu and click on breakout rooms, and the window should pop up and have the rooms labeled for you. We still got about 30 seconds before everybody comes back.
It's a great sign when people come back and there are big smiles on every single person's face. So I don't know what was just said before you came back, but it was something that in particular, Pastor Gwen had a little bit of, Pastor Gwen gets this twinkle in her eye, and I just don't know what's coming next when that happens. Oh, you're muted, Gwen, and I so want to hear what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I just said we ended on a good note.
Ended on a good note.
Mm-hmm.
We're back.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. I'm glad.
And everyone is back.
Everyone is back. Okay, so welcome back to the space, everyone. Hope you had inspiring conversations, and keeping the confidences of your small group colleagues. I'm wondering if we can take this time to unpack a little bit. Maybe you feel like sharing a positive thing that happened in your small group time. What was a learning that surfaced? What's something that you might do differently moving forward because of the discussion? And I'm gonna.
Can I begin?
Please, Carlton,
Okay.
I know that voice.
This is Carlton. How is everybody?
Super.
I only had one person in my urban ministry breakout, but that one person was Reverend Ray Cavan, who brings probably 35 years of experience as being a pastor. And we talked about the history of the ELCA going all the way back to the merger with the LCA and the ALC, and it was an enriching conversation. He talked about some things that I didn't know about. And so if I could do it over again, I would invest some time learning the history of the ELCA of the church, because it is very rich.
Okay. And it surely informs who we are today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that insight. Who's next? Who wants to share?
If I may, I would like to add, Carlton and I are old friends that go way, way back to my former time in Philadelphia. And when he talked about my years of ministry, I was ordained in 1964, so it's more than 30 years.
Okay. Yeah. That's a beautiful time of service. And I almost blurted out my age related to that. I thought, wait a minute, you're in a group of people. They're going to use that against you at some point. So don't reveal your age.
I'm proud to have lived this long.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we are grateful for your service in that role for that amount of time, friend, for sure. And I'm sure it was an inspired conversation. So who's next? I'm continuing to see great smiles on faces. So I'm thinking that these conversations were life-giving.
I think Jeremy raised his hand.
Oh, Jeremy, please.
We had a conversation around engaging with new communities and sort of the importance of building trust. And I really liked, the posture sort of curiosity, and asking the questions or giving the encouragement. Tell me more about that, just to learn about the stories of these people and these places that we find ourselves in, and how taking that posture helps us build trust. And so I think that's an encouragement to me to be in that place as we come to know new people and new places.
That's a beautiful way to hold that space that really honors the other and the other person's story, Jeremy. And that's one of our best questions as coaches. Tell me more about that. It just invites that unpacking. Beautiful. What else?
Well, I was in the race relation breakout room, and as the only African descent person in the group, one, I felt that I could be my authentic self, and it was just a very rich and honest discussion. And I would just say I believe that we all just kind of walked away with what we need to continue to do in this work, because this work is continuous, and we are all called to be faithful. It's not easy when you talk about races, but I like the whole theme that Coach Tammy had us in with right relationship, because that's what it's all about. So that's my big takeaway from our time together.
Thank you for naming that so beautifully, Pastor Gwen. Right relationship. It has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Janice, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, we were in the advocacy room, and it was one-on-one, and the idea that I think came more clear to me, can't speak for the other person, but to me is because of the way we are designed and the ministries we do in our own areas, it's so important to really have a good understanding of what those things that we perceive as obstacles are really about. I heard, earlier people sharing about the history of the church, or the history of relationships between churches, or between, how different things get funded, and having a good working understanding before we really, it's that contextual stuff that either we can learn from that helps make us better able to move forward, or it may be some of those things that come out and surprise us later if we don't fully understand them. So just a call back to understanding the context.
There you go. And what an important area of discussion on the day after a voting Tuesday, right? Where some major elections took place, some interesting swaps in political power. Yeah, thank you for hosting that discussion. Who's next? Barbara, you just look like you're ready to burst with something to say.
Actually, Jill, excuse me, Jamie had her hand up.
Oh, Jamie, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Jill. I'm glad to hear all of your other sharing. And I also want to I needed this reminder, and to remind all of you leaders too, that it's just so important to create the safe space to share the grief and the tough stuff. So I really appreciated that. I kind of joined this call late, and I was like whining to myself because I had like dropped the grocery bag, and my daughter called and she wasn't feeling good. And so I often take on her mood and energy and try not to, like, all this stuff. And then as soon as I'm in that space, I'm just like, we need this. We just need this. And last week I got to do a group grief coaching space with a conference of pastors, and hearing them share that, man, I feel like a failure, or man, I'm so tired, or man, I'm just, being able to share that, because leaders need so much support, especially when they are trying to take care of so many other people. So it was just a reaffirmation of that need for that space.
Thank you, Jamie, for that. And friend Barbara, if you were ready to share.
Oh, sure. So the hybrid church topic is just fascinating to many of us. And actually, we start off with Mukesh actually got us to really focus on the point that we really need to decouple the word church from the word building. Because when we're talking about doing church, it means so much more than a building. And of course, all of us who have been away from the building for a year and a half, with that resonates pretty well, that when we are trying to engage people in the life of Christ, You know, how do you do that when they're at a distance? So that's the real big deal right now with hybrid church, and being able to reach all those people by whatever means. So we had a really great discussion, and you know, some ideas floated back and forth about that whole thing on focusing on engagement of our people, engagement of the community, engagement, and getting it back from people who are trying to engage. How do we get their input rather than us just giving things? So it was a great discussion.
We
could have gone longer.
Of course. I love hearing that. Friends, thank you for your sharing today. We hope that you will join us again on Wednesday, November 17th. The third Wednesdays include a guest speaker. Jason, do you have anything to say about our guest speaker for next time we meet?
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise. Okay, wonderful. But we will have the speaker and go to breakout rooms again. And
Jill, I want to know, is it a surprise to Jason too?
Currently, yes.
Oh, goodness. That's a great question, Carol. Well, friends, I want to thank you again for being with us today, and for your authentic sharing and for your vulnerability. And as we leave, I want you to know that God is calling you to very unique and important work. Please know how valued you are, how loved you are, and that we're here to support you on the journey. So thank you for the blessing of this time, and we'll see you next time.